Hi, my name is Luke Moneymola, and today I'm going to talk about how I manage and create project timesheets for free. So I started using timesheets when I worked in engineering consulting, but since becoming a designer, I've kind of taken it to another level of detail, and I actually now keep track of every hour that I work, whether it be strictly work related, whether it be side hustle slash client related, anything that I do that I would consider to be work or I would like to be work someday, I keep track of it in my timesheet. So there's a few reasons why I do that. The first of which is that it becomes a lot easier to learn your worth as a professional once you start keeping track of the amount of time that you spend on projects. It's a lot easier to tell or to propose on projects and work when you know how much time it's gonna take. And obviously, your worth has a lot to do with the rate at which you'll be happy working, but it becomes much easier to get an idea, an estimate of how much effort, how much of your time you're going to have to put into these projects, these jobs that you're proposing on. So you'll have a much more accurate, number basically when you give proposals for different types of projects. The next reason why is because when you start keeping track of your time, it becomes much more easy and evident to find where the time went. Sometimes at the end of a week, I might feel that I didn't necessarily get as much done as I would have liked to. I may have a meeting that didn't necessarily go as well because of so and so deliverable. Maybe it wasn't as complete as it should have been. And when that happens, it becomes a lot easier to go back on your week and kind of do an autopsy on what happened, where your time went, your effort, and you might realize that you didn't actually spend as much time, put in as much work into that one deliverable that you thought you did. And conversely, it becomes a lot easier to forecast and prioritize your week, prioritize your effort when you have a timesheet. At least for me, whenever I have a week where I know I have a big push on a deadline, a big push on a deliverable, I will kind of in my head know that I need to be spending at least half of my work week on this project, on this deliverable. That gives you a really good metric and a really good source of truth to tell if you actually were true to yourself, true to what you wanted to do, true to your goals, and it gives you a good reference point to kind of look back and see if you did what you thought you were going to be doing. And now that I talked about why, I'm going to quickly just go over how I maintain my timesheet. So just right off the bat, I always use the Pomodoro method now. If you have not heard of it, it's worth looking up. Basically, the premise behind it is that you work for 25 minutes or whatever period of time you select, but the Pomodoro method is 25 minutes of complete focus. You don't respond to texts, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't get up to do anything except for work. And then once you're done with that period, that Pomodoro, you take a 5-minute break or a 15-minute break once you've done that a few times. I found that I'm a much more productive worker, I'm a much more productive designer when I am completely plugged into what I'm doing. I used to just kind of do my work and then respond to texts and emails as they come. But now I find that I have a lot more focus and I'm really in tune with the work that I'm doing. So going off of that, whenever I start a day, kind of setting up my timesheet, setting up my day, I always create a task list and a break list. I create a list of no more than 3 to 4 items, projects, big level like tasks that might take a couple hours for the day. I also then create a list of things that I would be doing in the break. So I try to be productive during my break. So I might be reaching out to my family, I might be texting friends, I might be checking my email. I keep those separately so that I have a really distinct sequence so that when I go through my day, when I'm using my Pomodoro, I know exactly what I'm going to do the whole day. And so that being the case, now that we've talked about like the actual flow of the way that I like to work, I'm going to talk about a little bit of like the actual technology. So I use Google Calendars to maintain my timesheet. And the reason is because that there's a really good free plugin that utilizes your calendar and basically takes down the information on it and turns it into a timesheet. So first off, I would recommend that you create a new Google Calendar for your timesheet, and that is very simple to do. You just have to go up to settings, you have to go to add a calendar and create a new calendar. And since I already have a calendar called timesheet, I'm just going to call this timesheet example and then hit create calendar. So now when I go back to my Google Calendar, I will see that I have this new calendar which can be toggled on and off. When I want to log some time into my timesheet, all I have to do is click into my calendar, use the pound symbol, which is just the numerical indicator for the plugin to know that this is being logged into my timesheet. And I might say pound blog, that's my project, and then whatever I write after that is like the task. So I could say like blog recording. And this is just the duration. I put it in for whatever time. I always, if I'm doing a Pomodoro for 25 minutes, I count that as 30 minutes. You'll never go, even if you're building a client for an 8-hour day, they can't expect you to literally be glued to your computer for 8 hours. That's not human. So I think that 5 minutes, you owe that to yourself for your focus. So then basically all you have to do is then go into your calendar at the bottom, select the calendar that you're using. In this case, it's my timesheet. And I'm done. I've already added this to my timesheet. The next thing that you'll have to do is you install this plugin on the G Suite Marketplace. I'll link it in all the comments and all the things, but it's very simple. It's free to use. You install it and it basically interfaces between Google Calendar and Google Sheets. The final step then is to go into your Google Drive or Google Docs and create a Google Sheet. So I call this my timesheet. I try to keep it, this is just my timesheet for 2020, just so that I have them all separated. And when you go into add-ons, once you've installed the timesheet plugin, you will see timesheet. To create a report, all you have to do is go to timesheet, go into report, and it will open up a dialog box on the right side where it'll start to give us the options for our timesheet. Now we have our available calendars, and all we have to do is now select the timesheet calendar, which we just created. We can input a period, either this week, last week, or anything custom that you want, which is pretty nice. And you can even add a project filter. So if I wanted to just figure out the amount of effort that I spent on a specific project or a specific, goal, maybe, then I could use that. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. We only have one project. So you hit create, and then it's going to think for a little while, and it's going to basically take down that information off of your calendar and calculate it into our timesheet, which is really nicely organized. You'll see this isn't necessarily the best example, but in an example where there might be more work, maybe I have a few different projects, a few different goals, I have a really good understanding of where my effort went, what I was doing this week, and kind of this, for me, is a good indication of the amount of progress I'm likely to have made on these tasks. You can also then select it if I were to filter it by a project. This is one specific project that I've been working on. Now I can see for this entire project, this is how much time I've done. So yeah, this is how I go about creating my timesheet. I know there's tons of different ways to do it. The main takeaway for me is that whatever it is that you do decide to use, it's just important that you keep track of your time and keep track of your effort, especially if you're working for other people or clients. The reason being is that nobody has an unlimited amount of time, and you shouldn't work for other people like you do. It's really important that you quantify and maintain some sort of record of the effort that you put into your projects. And really, it's only going to make you more efficient and more proficient at your job. I found that once you realize where the time is going in your day, in your week, you have a much better understanding of, and a much more honest understanding of the effort that you're putting into certain tasks. And you can then look at that when you are performing well, or when you are getting the results that you like, or when you're not. And it gives you a really good basis to understand how to move forward and how to get better. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please let me know if you guys use something different. I love to learn new processes and techniques, and hope to hear from you guys soon.